I definitely believe that the US market is ready for zero-emission vehicles and specifically for electric vehicles.
What we are seeing in the Western world right now is that the consumers are not supporting as much as the political leadership was expecting the EV ramp up.
And welcome back to the channel, everybody. Welcome back to a new video. So one of the most asked questions that I've been getting is, who are they going to hire at Stellantis to replace Carlos Tavares, the demon CEO that has done so much damage to that company, along with, I believe, culpability lies with the board of directors and Elkman, whatever the hell his name is. The people that are running Stellantis have done I think a horrible job, and I think it's undeniable. I mean, there's no way around it. I mean, every media source out there has said the same thing. So it's not just us being mad about not getting our Hemi cars anymore. I think it comes down to really bad leadership, but also a horrible agenda that, without getting political and going crazy, but that is too far reaching and unrealistic for it to lead to anything other than what has been happening. So the point I want to make is, without getting political, is I believe sometimes we have really great ideas in this country to fix things, to fix problems, and lots of people have solutions to those problems. And then the government gets their hands on the problem, and they go so far left or so far right, they go so far off the planet when it comes to providing a solution that the solution becomes and creates a litany of new problems. And unfortunately, car makers have been stuck in this situation where they've been following the green agenda. And I want to be very clear. That was bad to say. I mean, bottom line is, I'm not a denier of climate issues and climate problems, and I don't want to come off like that. Like, let's say that there's any truth to the green agenda, then cool. Let's find a solution to respectfully, gently, and carefully, without breaking everything else, find a way to just err on the side of caution and maybe do things a little bit better. And I think we have. I had a comment recently where a gentleman said, well, you want your Hemi cars, but you don't care that I'm not going to be able to fish in the beautiful lakes and ponds, and I'm going to have to be living in smog and raise my children in horrible air. I grew up in the 70s and 80s. I know what crappy air is. And I remember smog days when we couldn't go do PE. My daughter has literally never had to experience that. She's never had to deal with that. We've done such a great job at making incredibly fuel-efficient cars, getting massive horsepower, massive MPGs out of these things, despite the fact that these cars are, let's say, these fire-breathing V8s. My Lamborghini is getting like 21 miles per gallon on the highway and 16 plus with a V10 600 plus horsepower monstrosity. So I think technology's come a long way, and nobody's going to be having to not fish in their ponds. Or remember acid rain? I mean, they wouldn't let us outside. I haven't had that happen. But Brad, you're in California where all the environmentalists have locked everything down. So that's why, because it's proof that it's working. No, I go to Tennessee, I go to St. Louis, Missouri, I've been to Illinois, I've been to Texas, I've been to Florida, I've been to New York, and let me just tell you, look around, everywhere you go, it doesn't matter. Midwest, beautiful country, beautiful countrysides, all over the place, and it's just fine. We've done a great job. Kids aren't being locked inside because of acid rain and smog days like they were in the 70s and 80s. So we've done good, and that was some good, moderate changes and laws and requirements to build cars that are better when it comes to emissions. But things have gone off the ledge. So my point I want to make, leading into beating up on Stellantis for going too far in one direction, is when you say that EVs are there is no EV mandates, other than California, where they're saying by 2030 they can't sell gas cars. There really isn't mandates, but there are highly restrictive CAFE regulations that we're dealing with in California and the nation has to deal with that certainly cause some challenges when it comes to building cars that you can sell to the public after certain years go by. I shared that in my last video. You can simply Google the chart, CAFE standards by year chart, and it'll show you that things are getting to the place to where it'll be physically impossible to build anything that's not electric. And Stellantis went down that direction. Now, I've also been beat up on for saying that I don't like electric cars. I'm not an electric car fan. The reality of it is there's a chance I buy a Tesla. There's a good chance I do. At some point, I don't know. Because I've said this forever, I don't have a problem with EVs. I have a problem with anybody forcing me to have anything. I have a problem with people forcing ridiculous things on me. If I have one, it'll only because I'm going to buy a 2017 or 16 with unlimited supercharging, and I do have a way to get one of those. And that car will be just for work, just to beat the crap out of. I'll spend 25 grand on a used one and drive it until the thing bursts into flames, and then I'll be done with it. I'm not going to be worried about resale. I'm going to simply use it to collect the tax write-off from all the miles I put on the cars, mileage reimbursement from my job, and not have to pay for any fuel. I mean, there's smart things that come out of these things. With that said, I will not get rid of my V10 Lamborghini. I will not get rid of my V8 fire-breathing Dodge Challenger. I will not get rid of my gas cars that I've got throughout the family because I don't believe in mandates. So my issue with UEV people that want to get mad at me and think that I can care less about the environment, one, I believe you're being lied to about the extreme nature and direction we need to go, but I also do want to err on the side of caution and say, look, I'm all for not having those days like I had when I was a kid where we couldn't go out and play football and baseball, and we couldn't have PE because of smog days, and acid rain was a problem and all that stuff. I think we've done a great job. And I think that it's just gotten so far to one direction that it makes almost no sense at this point. And there are people profiting off of this entire green agenda, and they're sucking people in. And if you're one of those people, just do some reading. Don't fall for it. We're not getting rid of gas cars. It will never happen. California will not pull off this 2030 thing. And neither will Stellantis. So that takes me to Stellantis. We've got a company that has bought in, and their CEO has bought in, and apparently their board of directors has bought in. And for that reason, they're going all electric. And except for with trucks, sounds like they're throttling back on that one, but they're definitely going deep into that arena. And I wouldn't be surprised if they were to have any level of success with some of their electric trucks they're bringing out, that they wouldn't ultimately get rid of the gas engines. So that leads to, then, who are they going to bring in to replace Carlos Tavares, who is extremely tied to that green agenda? He is all about the green agenda and getting rid of gas engines completely and going all electric as a company. That's a problem for two reasons. One, he's taking on Tesla. Good luck. You've got the 800-pound gorilla that's going to ragdoll you, and you're not going to be able to compete. Elon will just drop prices. And those of you who were saying that, well, Elon's in bed with Trump, so Trump's going to be all tied into the EVs. No, Elon said, you can even go find his quotes and articles where he has said he does not believe in any way that we will get rid of gas and fossil fuels. Now, he said he knows of ways we can get there, but I know that the ways we could get there would be so extreme that we would have nuclear power plants in every single state. And good luck getting those done. Even though they're a lot safer than people think they are, it's not going to happen, which means we're going to fall back on fossil fuels. So what's Stellantis going to do when it comes to a CEO? If they get rid of Tavares, are we all of a sudden going to have this great windfall of change? Stellantis and Dodge, Chrysler, Jeep, and Ram suddenly shift back, and we end up having beautiful Hemi cars, and they will figure out how to put the Hemis into the new, what I think is a good-looking EV or Daytona body. I think that's probably not happening, because here's why. The CEO is not going to change much. So here's my thoughts, my prediction on who the CEO will be. And I believe it's going to be somebody from inside, because that's what Stellantis does. They want a yes man or a yes woman who's going to continue to carry the torch for the insanity. They are going to keep going down that direction. There's a possibility, I believe, that they will split off Dodge, Chrysler, Jeep, and Ram in America and put one CEO over that and then one over the rest of the world, so Europe, and then they will have somebody above all of them that will make all the decisions for the entire company. I think that would be smart, and I think they need somebody who can at least speak our language, but I promise you that person will be a yes man. And no offense to anybody who's taken positions, the new CEO of Dodge or Chrysler, Jeep, Ram, any of those people, the people they've done the shuffling with. Bottom line is they hired yes men and yes women who are just going to say, okay, and keep regurgitating it. Here's why. Because we all have a price. And you can say you don't, and there's no amount of money where you would go, okay, and start carrying out that stupid agenda with all the EVs. But let me just tell you, you drop, let's say you're the first generation in your family, like I am, to start making really, really, really good money and building really great wealth, and somebody comes along and offers you millions of dollars a year to run a company, but you got to go along with the program. I got to tell you, it's hard to turn that down, considering your family's lives would change so drastically that they would be building memories and having things and going places that they could never have dreamt of. And I think that's why they got yes men and yes women, because they're paying enough. But what happens with this new CEO? Well, here's what I believe, and here's the reason why I think companies pick from within. Because when you pick from within and you just simply promote somebody from within, rather than going outside and finding a powerful machine of a powerhouse new CEO that's going to literally rock Wall Street to the core and scream out massive changes coming, the reason they don't do that and go get one of those people is they got to buy those people. Those people cost lots of money, lots of guaranteed salaries and bonuses. But when you promote somebody from within, generally, they just pay them a little bit more and a massive amount on performance, on success. Well, here's the rock and the hard place that CEO is going to be in. The rock and the hard place is, well, they gave me a little bit more money up front in salary, but now everything else is stock-based and performance-based bonus-type compensation, and you're not giving me the tools to fix the company. You're staying on this green agenda with all these EVs that nobody wants to buy, that frankly, if we got more than 10 to 15% saturation in America right now, the grid would collapse. They would have to create so much electricity using fossil fuels to meet the demand. If they passed, let's say, past 15%, considering we're sitting around 10 right now, they passed 15%, we'd be bringing down the grids. Hydro and wind and solar could not make enough electricity to be able to charge all of those cars. But Brad, people have those solar panels on their roofs. Not everybody, and not everybody lives in a beautiful, expensive home that they own. More people live in homes that are rentals, or their apartments, or their high-rises, or their duplexes, etc., that are absolutely not solar. Now, here's the deal, and can't be solar. So here's the deal also when it comes to solar, and I don't want to go off in too much of a tangent, but keep in mind that if you go to whitehouse.gov, you can see, you want to talk about tariffs? Everybody's worried about what happens with our next president and his tariffs. His tariffs, I believe, are going to be designed, and I'm not saying I'm for them or against them. I'm saying his goal is to make it just so impossible for them to do business here that they have to do business in America, that there is no tariff, because no one would pay that tariff because it's so crazy. It's not that they would just be enough that we would start making tons of money. He has said that too. We will see. Jury's out. We'll find out. But if you look at just the past administration, has had tons and tons of tariffs on equipment that is used to run solar, which is why you pay $30,000 for solar panels for a house, for solar panels that probably shouldn't cost more than $4,000 or $5,000. So you want to talk about scams. These things are not going to, they're not going to be able to meet the demand if there was that many electric cars. But where's Elon on this whole thing? Just going back to that a little bit, is why is he so for this? Well, people think it's because he wants a monopoly. Well, the problem with that is if he was to create a monopoly, then it would be antitrust and he would get shut down. They'd make him break up the company. So nobody's that stupid. Let's be real. But what he does want to do is make sure that the options still exist for both, because the reality of it is there could not be enough electricity created if every car was electric. It would be catastrophic. And he's reached a place where he's got enough wealth where he can actually just say, I just don't think it's going to work, and still know that his company is going to be fine. So back to who's going to be the CEO. It's going to be somebody from within. If they end up splitting the company in two, separate off the European portion and from the U.S. portion, it'll still be two people from within, and they will pay them a little bit and a lot on bonus structure and a lot of stock-based compensation and performance-based compensation, and that's them cheaping out, which we know they're going to do. Carlos Tavares will still be on the board of directors, still pulling strings. They will still continue down this crazy road of all EVs, thinking that's actually going to happen, despite the change in administration. Dodge, Chrysler, Jeep, and Ram will start to falter so badly that they'll either have to sell it off or shut it down, and selling it off is the only real outcome, since Stellantis will be responsible for meeting the warranties of all those cars. There's no way around. They can just jettison that, so they're going to have to do that. So that means I think they will be forced at some point to sell the thing off. And then a baller CEO could come in and turn that thing around and revive this thing. And it's just going to take some time for everybody to realize that we just went too far one direction. And you know what? In the past, we've probably gone too far the other direction. But finding a place in the middle, I think that's what's going to have to happen. And finding a CEO that's going to change Stellantis for the better and completely rock the universe, I don't see it happen. There's no Tim Kuniskis coming. I don't want to sound like a negative guy, but we know. We just look at what Stellantis has done. They promote from within. They give them a little bit more money. They program to say exactly the things that they want them to say. I mean, look at Matt McAleer or whatever. Awesome guy, great guy. He has got a financial come up that most of us would die for to be able to take that position. And he's getting up with a straight face telling us how amazing these EVs are going to be. And he's a car guy. I think a lot of us might go, yeah, you know what? I can change my tune for millions of bucks. I don't know. It's ridiculous. But somebody's going to comment and say, I can't be bought. You're a friggin' liar. Everybody. I hate to say it. Unless it's an integrity issue where you're going to have to turn on your own family or something, you just got to sell a product. We all have sold things we probably didn't believe in at some point. But bottom line, as long as nobody's getting hurt. Well, in this case, nobody's getting hurt. We're just losing our beloved Dodge, Chrysler, Jeep, and Ram brands. And that's what I think is going to happen with the CEO. And I don't think there's going to be any big, huge announcements about somebody who's amazing. And by the way, imagine this. You're Carlos Tavares sitting there, and you've got a year and a half left or something. And then you're going to go to the board of directors, and they're shopping and searching for your replacement. Carlos is probably going to pick the replacement. He's going to go ahead and crown somebody to take his place, and they're going to have the same ridiculous, over-the-top, green agenda. They're going to save the world single-handedly, building these battery things and trying to force them down our throats. And we won't buy them. And then if there are tariffs that torture Stellantis for moving so many jobs outside the country and making it harder to sell some stuff here, for example, I think the Hornet made in Italy. I mean, if they start doing that kind of stuff, then it's just going to, they're not going to learn. They're just going to continue. They just laid off another 400 people. They're just going to continue to cut expenses, and they'll bring another CEO in from inside, and then we'll watch more destruction take place. I wish I was wrong, folks. I would love to tell you some great news, but I thought I'd do this video so you have my prediction on who the next CEO is going to be. Sorry. This is what I think. Comment below. Let me know what you think. Please like, subscribe, and I will see you in the next one. Bye-bye.